Hi, guys. How are you? We're going to read a little more of The Outsiders. Miss Donadio read last time, so now I'm up. Remember, good readers always look back on what they just read. And we were saying how Soda and Pony are laying in bed, and he's really convinced that, Dari doesn't love him, and he's saying, oh, well, I lied to myself. I don't care about him, and Soda's enough. But he really does care about Dari. He's saying he knows he's lying to himself, and he never believes himself. Okay. And also, Soda was talking about his girlfriend, Sandy, and how that he wants to marry her, right? Or he loves her. So, I'm trying to see. Yeah, no, that's what he was just saying. And then he's how good looking he is. I'm just reading over, guys. Good. All right. So, interesting stuff. So, how he's in love with Sandy, loves her. Yep. Oh, yeah. And he does say how he wants to marry. I thought so. This book, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. So, we'll see what's going to happen from there on. Chapter 2. Sally was waiting for Johnny and me under the streetlight at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. And since we got there early, we had time to go to the drugstore and the shopping center and goof around. We bought Cokes and blew the straws to the waitress and walking around eyeing things that were lying out in the open until the manager got wise to us and suggested we leave. He was too late, though. Sally walked out with 2 packages of Cools under his jacket. So Cools we researched in our web quest or a type of cigarette. And actually a lot of people even referenced this part from the book when they talked about the Cools. Then we went across the street and down Sutton a little way to the Dingo. There are a lot of drive-ins in town. The Socias go to the Way Out and to Rusty's, and the Greasers go to the Dingoes and to G's. The Dingoes is a pretty rough hangout. There's always a fight going on over there once a girl got shot. We walked around talking to all the greasers and hoods we knew, leaning in car windows or hopping into the back seats and getting in on who was running away and who was in jail and who was going with who and who could whip who and who stole that and when and why. We knew about everybody there. There was a pretty good fight while we were there between a big 23-year-old greaser and a Mexican hitchhiker. We left when the switchblades came out because the cops will be coming soon and nobody in his right mind wants to be around when the fuzz show. We crossed Sutton and cut around behind Spencer's Special, the discount house, and chased 2 junior high kids across a field for a few minutes. By then it was dark, enough to sneak in over the back fence of the nightly double drive-in movie. It was the biggest in town and showed 2 movies every night and on weekends 4. You could say you were going to the nightly double and have time to go all over town. We all had the money to get in. It only cost a quarter. Remember, things are very different in price last in the 60s. We researched that as well. It only costs a quarter if you're not in a car, but Sally hated to do things the legal way. He liked to show that he didn't care whether there was a law or not. He went around trying to break laws. We went to the rows of seats in front of the concession stand to sit down. Nobody else was there except 2 girls who were sitting down front. Sally eyed them coolly, then walked down the aisle and sat right behind them. I had a sick feeling that Sally was up to his usual tricks, and I was right. He started talking loud enough for the 2 girls to hear. He started out bad and got worse. Dallas could talk awful dirty if he wanted to, and I guess he wanted to then. I could feel my ears get hot. So the thing is, ears are getting hot. He's definitely getting embarrassed, right? Two-Bitter, Steve, or even Soda would have gone right along with them just to see if they could embarrass the girls. But that's the kind of kicks that just don't appeal to me. I just sat there, struck dumb, and Johnny left hastily to get a Coke. I wouldn't have felt so embarrassed, so now we know for a fact that's what he was saying with the ears. If they had been greasy girls, I might have even helped old Dallas, but those 2 girls weren't our kind. They were tough-looking girls, dressed sharp and really good-looking. They looked about 16 or 17. One had short dark hair and the other had long red hair. The redhead was getting mad or scared. She sat up straight and she was chewing hard on her gum. The other one pretended not to hear Sally. Sally was getting impatient. He put his feet up on the back of the redhead's chair, winked at me, and beat his own record for saying something dirty. She turned around and gave him a cool stare. Take your feet off my chair and shut your trap. Boy, she was good looking. I'd seen her before. She was a cheerleader at our school. I'd always thought she was stuck up. Sally merely looked at her and kept his feet where they were. Who's going to make me? The other one turned around and watched us. That's a greaser that jockeys for Slash J sometimes, she said, as if we couldn't hear her. I had heard the same tone a million times. Greaser, greaser, greaser. Oh, yeah, I had heard that tone before too many times. What are they doing at a drive-in without a car? I thought, and Dallas said, I know you two. I've seen you on rodeos. It's a shame you can't ride bull half as good as you can talk it, the redhead said coolly and turned back around. That didn't bother Sally in the least. You 2 barrel race, huh? Remember barrel racing? We also looked up. You'd better leave us alone, the redhead said in a biting voice, or I'll call the cops. Oh, my, Sally looked bored. You've got me scared to death. You ought to see my record sometime, baby. He grinned slyly. Guess what I've been in for? Please leave us alone, she said. Why don't you be nice and leave us alone? Sally grinned roguishly. I never nice. Want a Coke? She was mad by then. I wouldn't drink if I was starving in the desert. Get lost, hood! Sally merely shrugged and strolled off. The girl looked at me. I was half scared of her. I'm half scared of all nice girls, especially Sosha's. Are you going to start in on us? All right, I'm back. Sorry. I don't know how the pause showed up on your end, guys. I'll have to watch it, but I just had to take a little second. All right. So she says, are you going to start in on us? I shook my head, wide-eyed. No. Suddenly she smiled. Gosh, she was pretty. You don't look the type. What's your name? I wish she hadn't asked me that. I hate to tell people my name for the first time. Ponyboy Curtis. Then I waited for the you're kidding, that's your real name, or other remarks I usually get. Ponyboy's my real name, and personally, I like it. The redhead just smiled. That's an original and lovely name. My dad was an original person, I said. I've got a brother named Soda Pop. It says so on his birth certificate. My name's Sherry, but I'm called Cherry because of my hair. Cherry Valens. So if you guys want to add that to your character tracker. So she's a Soch, red hair. They call her real name is Sherry, but they call her Cherry because of her hair. I know, I said. You're a cheerleader. We go to the same school. You don't look old enough to be going to high school, the dark-haired girl said. I'm not. I got put up a year in grade school. Cherry was looking at me. What's a nice, smart kid like you run around with trash like that for? I felt myself stiffen. I'm agree. Same as Sally. He's my buddy. I'm sorry, Ponyboy, she said softly. Then she said briskly, your brother Soda Pop. Does he work at a gasoline station, a DX, I think? Also research that. Yeah. Man, your brother's one doll. I might have guessed you were brothers. You look alike. I grinned with pride. I don't think I look one bit like Soda, but he's not every day. I hear Socias telling me they think my brother is a doll. Didn't you used to ride in rodeo, saddle bronc? Didn't he used to ride in rodeo, saddle bronc? Yeah. Dad made him quit after he tore a ligament, though. We still hang around rodeos a lot. I've seen you 2 barrel race. You're good. Thanks, Cherry said, and the other girl whose name was Marcia. So it looks like Marcia, but it's Marcia. So it's Cherry's friend. How come we don't see your brother at school? He's not any older than 16 or 17, is he? I winced inside. I've told you, I can't stand it that Soda dropped out. He's a dropout, I said roughly. Dropout made me think of some poor dumb-looking hoodlum wandering the streets breaking out streetlights. It didn't fit my happy-go-lucky brother at all. It fitted Dally perfectly, but you couldn't say it about Soda. Johnny came back then and sat beside me. He looked around for Dally, then managed to shout hi to the girls and tried to watch the movie. He was nervous, though. Johnny was always nervous around strangers. Cherry looked at him, sizing him up as she had me. Then she smiled softly. I knew she sized him up right. Dally came striding back with armfuls of Cokes. He handed one to each of the girls that sat beside Cherry. This might cool you off. She gave him an incredulous look, and then she threw her Coke in his face. That might cool you off, greaser. After you wash your mouth and learn to talk and act decent, I might cool off too. Sally wiped the Coke up his face with his sleeve and smiled dangerously. If I had been Cherry, I would have beat it out of there. I knew that smile. Firing hell, well, that's the way I like him. He started to put his arm around her, but Johnny reached over and stopped him. Leave her alone, Dally. Huh? Dally was taken off guard. He stared at Johnny in disbelief. Johnny couldn't say boo to a goose. Johnny gulped and got a little pale, but he said, you heard me. Leave her alone. Dallas scowled for a second. If it had been me or Two-Bit or Steve, Soda or Steve or anyone but Johnny, Dally would have flattened him without a moment's hesitation. You just didn't tell Dally Winston what to do. One time in a dime store, guy told him to move over at the candy counter. Dally turned and belted him so hard knocked a tooth loose. A complete stranger, too. But Johnny, he was the gang's pet. Remember we talked about that before. And Dally just couldn't hit him. He was Dally's pet, too. Dally got up and stalked off, his fist jammed in his pockets and a frown on his face. He didn't come back. Cherry silently thanks. He scared me half to death. Johnny managed an admiring grin. You sure didn't show it. Nobody talks to Dally like that. She smiled. From what I saw, you do. Johnny's ears got red. Now his turn to be embarrassed. I was still staring at him. It had taken him more than nerve for him to say what he said to Dally. Johnny worshipped the ground. Dallas walked on. I never heard Johnny talk about anyone, much less his hero. Marcia grinned at us. She was a little smaller than Cherry. She was cute, but that Cherry Valens was a real looker. Y'all sit up here with us. You can protect us. Johnny and I looked at each other. He grinned suddenly, raising his eyebrows as he disappeared under his bangs. Would we ever have something to tell the boys, his eyes said plainly. We picked up 2 girls, and classy ones at that. Not any greasy broads for us, but real Socias. Soda would flip when I saw him. Okay, I said nonchalantly. Mine as well. I sat between them, and Johnny sat next to Cherry. How old are y'all? Marcia asked. 14, I said. 16, said Johnny. That's funny, Marcia said. I thought you were both 16, Cherry finished for her. I was grateful. Johnny looked 14 and he knew it, and it bugged him something awful. All right. Let's see. I think we're going to leave off here with the girls. Still, they saw Dally. Dally's a very crazy, rough guy. And we're going to see what happens. They just asked Johnny and Pony to sit with them. And we also have to think about, they said it was very weird that they didn't have a car. Got to think about it.